Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily show in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate Solo, a Star Wars story, 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
With Patrick Cotnoir from the George Lucas Talk Show.
And Connor Ratliff from the George Lucas Talk Show and the podcast Dead Eyes.
Welcome back, fellas.
Hello.
Well, hello.
Glad you could
back.
return to talk
Yes.
about minute number 37 of Solo, a Star Wars story, now available on digital and Blu-ray. Number 37 starts with Beckett rolling around on the train, and it ends a minute later with the train rolling around the mountain.
And train kept a rolling all night long.
Classic Train songs out there. I don't mean the band Train, I mean songs about Train. Do you think Train did any songs about trains? Anyway, let us know in the comments. Stupid
Is
question.
Train a new band or an old band?
Train is an
They've
old
been
band.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been around.
90s at least.
Yeah, Drops of Jupiter, Calling All Angels.
Drive by.
Hey Soul Sister.
Clearly we have the
I've
number
heard
one
that
Train
song,
fan here.
All right.
But we encourage people to make those videos, post those videos online of this sequence to your favorite train song. Either a song by Train or a song about trains.
But
Or
I like
a song
also the
about
idea.
the band Train.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the idea of taking that, just you listing off train songs and making it into like a DJ kind of playlist. It's just like the next, and you just say like, hey, Soul Sister, and then they play that song, and then it's just a...
Yeah.
Now, when you say DJ, you mean Benicio del Toro's character from The Last Jedi?
Hopefully
Okay,
we
great.
can get him,
Great.
to do.
Also,
indifferent.
just if you have like interviews with members of the band Train, just like that audio replacing the audio of the sequence, just to see how it changes the way we process the action.
You think it's like a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, like
I
Wizard
think
of
that
Oz thing?
I think any interview that the members of the band Train ever did will sync up perfectly
That's
with
eerie.
minute 37.
Is that Ron Howard innovation or Lord Miller innovation?
Who can say? Well, people will be debating that for the next 2 minutes.
It's true.
Some scenes it syncs up and you're like, oh, this must be Lord and Miller. And some scenes
Right.
it does not.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh, this is a
That's
Ron.
probably Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we should talk about minute number 37 of Solo, a Star Wars story. Already, you introduced the minute. We did that part already.
You did. Train.
So yeah, Rio is suffering from his gunshot wound here.
Hmm.
He's somewhat delirious, and he's when Han calls him buddy, he says, "Rio, stay with me, buddy." I know I objected when he called Chewbacca that the other day. I thought it was a little presumptuous to be calling this guy you just met buddy. And but in this, clearly he just cannot remember anyone's name and just loves dispensing nicknames for everybody.
What a scoundrel.
Now, did you guys have a long conversation about why Rio pronounces it Wookiee?
No, I mean we brought it up, but we didn't have a long discussion about it. Why? What's your theory?
It's all I've been thinking about all day.
Yeah.
I rewatched it again, and it's just like, it's crazy. I don't know why he does it. I don't know why no one corrected him.
It's
in the,
regional. It's regional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a regional affectation. It's like Warsh.
Right. Wash that Wookiee.
Go
That
get
was
washed
that,
up.
Everybody's
Wash that
favorite.
Wookiee. Yeah.
You Wookiee Warsher.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that sounds like a synchronized dance, like wash that Wookiee. It's like Crocodile Rock or something where everybody's doing the same thing at a wedding.
Also, be a great T-shirt. Let's be honest. Wash that Wookiee.
Yeah, there you go. Little soap bubbles and a little Chewbacca head popping out of an old style wash basin.
Yeah, lathering him up, and Rio is like scrubbing him up in a wash tub.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Chewbacca shower scene in this movie.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
We've already washed that Wookiee.
Yeah.
Yeah. We watched Han wash that Wookiee.
Han. Han
wash.
Wash that Wookiee.
With Leia.
Professional dry clean only. The it does make me think of two things. Two things that I like to think about. One, Maz Kanata saying I like that Wookiee. So she's almost got the same.
That's true.
But then also the first time in the Star Wars Holiday Special, the first time we hear them talking about the Wookiee planet, the Imperials do say Kazook. So there are regional differences in pronunciation. So
okay,
it's
none of it.
It's a big universe.
When Wookiees say Wookiee, it doesn't sound like that to us. I've never, we don't ever hear a Wookiee say, "Yes, I am a Wookiee."
I
guess I'll stop bringing it up.
It doesn't. This is the first time it's ever occurred to me that the word Wookiee or Wookiee does not appear to be a word that originates in the Wookiee language. You can't imagine
Peking.
You can't imagine Chewbacca or Mala or Itchy or Lumpy, any of them ever being like Wookiee.
Right. But
So this is our word or their word,
Yes.
like non-Wookiees call them Wookiees. I wonder how they pronounce it. I'm sure this has been dealt with somewhere.
But I'm only hoping that post Empire Strikes Back, but post the Galactic Empire.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll give it the leeway of saying post First Order too. That once things, once the fascists are gone, hopefully, fingers crossed.
What an optimist!
Then people will be more culturally aware of things, and the Wookiees will get the Mumbai or.
I want to see an era of Star Wars movies where they don't use the word Wookiee anymore, and instead people are like, "Oh, he's a," and people just pronounce it accurately.
Like, where are you? There's like old people who are just like, "You mean that Wookiee?"
Yeah.
Like, Dad, you can't say that.
Let the right win.
I'm trying to think of everyone we hear say the word Wookiee in Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I know we have...
They have one thing in common. None of them are Wookiees.
That's true. We have Harrison Ford says it when he says Wookiees are known to do that.
C-3PO says it.
Let the Wookiee win.
Right.
C-3PO says that, and C-3PO speaks so many languages, he could easily have countered for that.
But
I want to hear him speaking
etiquette.
Sherwook.
Etiquette and protocol. He's following Han's lead. Han just said Wookiee, so C-3PO is saying Wookiee because he's like, oh, this is how he says it. I'm not going to say it differently and make him feel bad.
He totally discounts Chewbacca's feelings on the matter or whatever.
Right,
Just, well, whatever the human says, that trumps anything a Wookiee says.
I mean, the human who technically kind of owns him. So it's like, he must be comfortable with it if they have a partnership here.
He's not going to
Someone
object
else says
in any
it.
case.
Who calls him Chewbacca the Wookiee? Doesn't someone specifically call him Chewbacca the Wookiee?
Well, Kermit the Frog.
Is that what it is? Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah, could be.
Am I thinking?
To Luke Skywalker.
I mean, what are the odds? I mean, I would bet good money that is exactly what you're thinking of, Patrick.
Oh no, I think you're right.
It could be.
You're right. Yeah.
But also, they don't. I think
Yoda
says it in Jabba's palace, right? Don't they say the Wookiee?
Well, he says, "Bring me Captain Solo and the Wookiee." So Captain Solo and Wookiee. That's almost like what you're talking about, where it's like he drops in a recognizable word. So funny, Wookiee, Wookiee. Yeah. So then Rio says to Han, "It's no good to die alone, kid," which is a strange, weird thing because I mean, Han's there. So he's not dying alone. It's kind of like,
it's a real
sure
burn.
someone else was here dying with me instead of you.
He just called you buddy. He just was like, we're friends. Yeah.
He just kept going into it. Like, it sucks to die here with like no friends, nobody to talk to. You know what I mean? It's like, well.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm here. Well, yeah, sure. But I mean, someone
real
here.
friends.
Yeah.
and it's also, I mean, when I'm going to spoil something here, but when Han Solo eventually does die, he's not alone. He's with his son. And that sucks.
That's such a good news, bad news kind of great news for you.
I mean, he does get that little moment
die.
where
the good news is you're with your son when you die.
You will be with your family
he gets to touch,
when you die.
He gets to touch his face. There's a nice little moment of tenderness in that moment. But I think the death actually happens probably either during or after the fall, so he is alone for the actual moment, I think.
Yeah.
I think he lands on top of Darth Maul, who's down at the bottom of that pit. So
that's right. That's right.
He just started working on the legs when the planet got blown up, so didn't quite.
Yeah, but same thing. Like we talked about this a little bit. That there's things that are actually this might have been before we started rolling. That there's a lot of things in this that I didn't need, and if you just put them on paper, I'd be like, that's dumb and that's cliche. But for some reason, it works for me while I'm in like, not works in the in terms of like, oh, it's the best, but like this Rio dying is the most cliche kind of like action movie death. You know,
he was so close to retirement.
Yeah, and he'd just been talking about how he wants to open a cantina somewhere, and then like he's shot, but he's still able to be like, you know, like have one witticism, one kind of, you know, needlepoint worthy, you know, expression about how to die, and then he croaks, and then, but for some reason it works enough for me. I'm not like, oh God, I'm like, yeah, there. I don't
this
love
movie
it, but I'm
has
also
so
like,
many cliches. This movie has so many. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad thing. Star Wars is, of course, built on cliches,
Sure.
but everything this takes for so many different, you know, heist films, film noir, all these westerns, so it totally fits in with the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I would also say though that like whether it's a cliche or whether it's happened a lot, you know, most movies about like a crew don't necessarily have most of them or a sizable number of them die 37 minutes into the, you know what I mean? Like they take on a lot of casualties at a point where I was not expecting. Like we meet all these characters and then pretty quickly they're gone.
Right.
And that didn't feel cliche to me. I mean, it felt like, oh, I thought we were meeting this crew because this was the crew that we were going to be spending the rest of the movie with, and maybe they die at the end of the movie.
Like Rogue One.
Yeah.
Basically.
So like Charles Wapner? What'd you say?
I think there is something surprising about the way this goes so immediately bad at a point in the film where you feel like maybe they're going to have a run of luck, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's undermining your expectations.
Yeah, because you could have had the heist go wrong, but everyone in the heist be alive. You'd be like, oh no, what are we going to do now?
Right.
I think the fact that they took so many casualties so quickly in the point of this story is different compared to. That's not something that happens in any of the other Star Wars movies, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, you have one, you know, the beginning of Last Jedi, you had Paige, and that was like, you know, like this, but you had a lot of death, but not people that you had met, and even Paige you haven't really met, but her death was important to propel the characters later, whereas as we'll see later in this week, like, the death of these people doesn't really change the plot very much at all. Like nobody's really that, you know,
which I think is actually kind of makes this movie like it sort of does sink in the level of like how like rather than it feeling to me like, oh, these characters are unimportant, it's that like when you're operating in the underworld, your life doesn't really have a lot of value. That like
value.
That value. I think there is something that at this point in the movie, when I first saw this, I was surprised that they were like, yeah, they do it. The first time you see them really do a job, that it's just like, yeah, it doesn't go well, and these are the people who are left, and then they have to deal with that, and there isn't time to mourn, and they're also not people that are going to be mourned. They're quickly forgotten. You know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so add to the fact we had talked about him a week or two ago, but there was another member of the crew who died on Mimban in the mud in the battle when we first meet.
Yeah,
Han
so not appearing in this film.
Yeah, there was Corso, who was the kind of heavy machine gunner kind of guy, and he got blown up in the battle, and then they had to move on. That was their muscle, which is why then they're like, oh, we need muscle for the job. We need which is how they got Chewie. But then eventually it was like, well, there's just too much complication and confusion, so let's just cut them out completely.
Mm-hmm.
It's also laying the groundwork for a world in which, you know, the world first met the character of Han Solo in 1977, and one of the first things that we saw him do back then was kill someone.
Cold blood.
And walk away from it. And this movie is establishing a certain amount of like callousness towards the idea of killing and death, that it is just like just a part of doing business. It's not a thing to be you just don't have time to give it your full attention.
It's a harsher world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to go, we see that in Han a little bit at the end of this, where he's like, suddenly it's more serious to him. Which I mean, he had a pretty tough upbringing, and I guess people just, his luck has always been more or less on his side. So, but we see him definitely react to it. But I want to also go back to the John Kasdan, who helped write this, released a list of notes about it. Basically said, in lieu of a commentary track, here's some behind the scenes things. And one of the things that he said, essentially they made a mistake in casting Thandie Newton as Val because she made the character too interesting, and it was supposed to be basically like a throwaway just member of the gang that you weren't supposed to care about her, but you end up caring about her basically the most out of the crew because she's kind of cool. So
she also stays around just long enough for you to care about. Like if the campfire scene was not there, you could maybe be like, all right, whatever, it's fine. But she's there like just long enough that when she dies, you're like, oh no, wait, I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's really good in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I honestly think like the idea of having a throwaway character is kind of in and of itself sort of objectionable. That it is like they should start casting really interesting actors in all the throwaway parts. That it just makes it feel more like how when someone dies in real life, how you feel that you don't when someone. Even when someone you barely know dies in real life, you have you don't have a feeling of, oh well, they were just a throwaway character.
Right. For the most part.
That's not a normal human reaction.
I got to recast my wife.
The person who died, actually, they were a little too interesting. I wanted to really think of them as a throwaway character.
It's true.
Well, here's a question. So Rio has kind of a long, lingering death. He gets to have last words and kind of, and that's not something we see terrifically often in Star Wars. Usually they get blown up or they just get shot and die instantly.
Yeah.
I can only think of 3 characters who
Yoda?
had
Yoda, Vader,
Anakin, Smee.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't even think of her. She has one also. Does Kylo Ren also in? I cannot remember Rise of Skywalker.
No, he's just like
his last line is a grunt like 10 minutes before he dies.
Yeah. So he's Harrison Ford's son, that's for sure.
Yeah.
They don't have any last words together. That's so weird.
Oh.
Huh.
Well, the rumor was there was stuff they shot, but then they cut it. That was part of that QAnon style theory about the ending of that edited.
Right.
It's like, I want you to change your name to Skywalker.
yeah.
She's like, writing down all
I'm
this.
trying to think of who the third could be.
Well, Qui-Gon gets stabbed and then lies down for a while, and then he's like, don't forget to feed my goldfish and all this.
I'm not counting droids because K2SO kind of has a lingering, run, and he's like holding him off.
Padme, does she gets a little bit of talk?
She has to name children.
She names the kids. No, that's kind of
I guess so.
Yeah.
And she dies her broken heart.
I mean, the Emperor. If you just count all of Rise of Skywalker, it's one long dying scene.
As he's falling down there's a whole separate thing, him falling down the reactor shaft.
Can you tell us what movie it is?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, no. I thought the third one was Kylo Ren. So you've already exceeded my. So there you go. So I was going to ask people what they thought was the best of all of these slow lingering deaths.
I guess it's not slow lingering, but at the beginning of the battle for Endor, when the dad dies, but that's more of a thing where he's like, it's a pre-death, like, go, run, don't look back.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the one with Mace, right? Mace's parents.
Mace Tawani's parents, Connor.
Yeah.
The
Is that who you're talking about? Mace, the Tawani family.
I'm just trying to think of more death scenes in Star Wars now.
Well, Nikki the Ewok, who's just like, go on without me after she gets blown up. And the other one is just like, no.
Yeah.
What did you call her? Nikki?
Nikki. Darling Nikki the Ewok. There was this is where everybody's yelling at us.
We're going to drag this out, guys. Hang on. Yeah. We're sitting in this.
We got to look up every character on Wikipedia. Yeah. We're going to look at their deaths and figure out, like, did they drag that out, or
does it count as slow and agonizing, or does it not count as slow and agonizing?
Right. Well, I mean, like, what about like moments that are mostly played out with almost like Kylo Ren, where most things are played out with like Luke and Leia, where it's like an extended imagery scenario. You know, there's like there's emotion and there's imagery, but they don't get to sit there and be like, you know.
I mean, everyone's obviously free to do their own, you know, interpret it however they wish. Personally, to me, I think in order for it to really count, it has to be some kind of information being conveyed. I mean, you could say, oh, they're conveying emotional information. I'll allow it.
I think the best one almost doesn't count because, but I think it does count. Just because by any reasonable interpretation, he thinks he's about to die and he should be about to die is when
Darth Maul.
When Anakin, when he gets his arms and legs cut off and he's just slowly sinking into the lava and he's just going, I hate you. Like, that's a really good, like, he's like getting his final thoughts out. He has no reasonable expectation that someone's gonna fly along and pull him out and make him a robot man.
Yeah, as far as Obi-Wan is concerned, that is a prolonged death scene because I'm sure he's like, there's no way he survived that.
I hate you.
That is information being imparted. So
yeah.
He's like,
and it's also and I also think Ben understands at that point. Is like, I get why you hate me right now.
Yeah,
you are slowly burning to death, having just had your arms and legs chopped off by me.
You're right. You're right in this scenario. You should hate me.
I think Obi-Wan should have been like, no, Anakin, that's not fair. You know, like arguing his side of the story.
Right.
Take a second. See it from my perspective.
Count to 10.
I think that Ben is sort of thinking at that point, it's like, it should be clear that I also hate you, or I would not, or I would not have cut off your arms and legs and be watching while you slowly burn to death.
Right.
I think it's the kind of thing where that's sort of like Obi-Wan is trying to leave, but each one wants to be the last one to say something. So Obi-Wan is to keep coming back and go, you did this. And he starts running away. And then Anakin yells something. And
I hate you too.
I hope that in the new Kenobi series, we get some idea of what his interior monologue is. Because I like to imagine, like, he's saying things like, you were my brother. And it's like, is that how you treat your brother? Who treats their brother?
He really hated his brother.
Yeah, just like
that's what we're gonna see in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. It's just how Obi-Wan, it's gonna be Ewan McGregor torturing his brother.
When you're literally letting someone catch on fire, having chopped off their arms and legs, and you have a weapon that could be a mercy killing weapon. Like, he could easily have prevented a lot of bad things, and mercy killed him.
Yeah.
And then you feel the need to say, you are the chosen one. You are my brother. It's just like, Ben, come on.
It's like you're already dying, and also you're a disappointment.
You've made your point, Ben. Like, you don't need to say any of this.
Take the lightsaber and go.
Do you think when Obi-Wan got back to Padme and he's like, I cut off his arms and legs and he was laying there on the beach and she's like, oh, and then you killed him, right? Out of mercy? Oh, certainly. Yeah, of course. Why would I'd have to be a monster to walk away.
Do you think okay, here we go. She suggests that. He goes, oh, wow, you're right. I should have thought of that. He turns around and goes back. Palpatine's already taken him. And he's like, oh, all right, I guess I'm good. I'm good.
I don't think he would assume Palpatine's taking him. I think he would have assumed he was already sliding into the lava when I left.
That's what
he probably had 5 minutes tops before he had fully caught on fire, slid into the lava. I'm not going to find him if I go back. You're going to look around.
Is this the beach? Would these beaches all look the same?
Padme, you don't understand. He's not going to be there. He's gone.
I feel like an idiot. Look, what am I looking for? What do we think realistically is going to be left here?
If he did go back, you think he would have landed the ship and gone back and killed him with a lightsaber, or would you just shot him like as the ship was passing? You know,
landed the ship on him.
What a funnier ending to that movie! If he flies by, shoots him, and then keeps going.
That's like
I do like the idea of him like accosting those little droids that are like mining the lava and stuff. Excuse me, my friend and I were here a while ago. Did you
see him?
Did you happen to see an orphan boy?
Or is
he slid in, right? He must have slid in.
I found something. I think it could be him. I don't know.
Is this one of your shoes, or was it his? I don't.
I've brought something back. I think it's him. I can't be sure.
It's either him or a log. Either way, it's very bird.
Well, don't start with Obi-Wan and the logs, and then he's... they have a long history.
So I also, according to the one thing that I thought was kind of maybe perhaps interesting in the Solo visual official guide is they point out that Val is wearing powered electromag grip climbing gloves. In case you're wondering how she pulls off all those crazy stunts and stuff. Pete, you have a question?
Your Honor, I'd like to file that under evidence for later in the week.
That she knew she was going to have to be climbing down from there.
She has electro grip climbing gloves that could be useful.
Now, are these like sort of like what Tom Cruise wears in that one Mission Impossible movie when he climbs that really tall skyscraper? You know, he has are those similar technology?
I cannot answer that question
because I don't know.
Did Pablo write that book?
Yeah.
We got to tweet Pablo, guys.
It's written by Pablo.
That's Pablo. Is this the same thing that Ethan Hunt uses?
Right.
On that building in, was it Dubai?
Dubai.
Yeah.
Dubai.
So they're the same universe then, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want to know, that explains how those gloves exist. They've existed for a long time.
Long time. Well, rest in peace, Rio. Anything else for minute number 37?
I did have, it's no good to die alone. Val was right. Spoiler alert for a couple minutes from now when Val dies alone.
1 minute.
Or does she? Yeah. And also, since we're keeping the running countdown of how close we're getting, I have to bring back the radio DJ voice and say 2.1 to the bridge. That's that's how close we're getting.
I'll say one last thing about Rio.
Yes.
It does feel like they keep bringing back the alien designs that they've created in these newer movies where they're like, we're just going to use them all the time now. Sure. And is he an Ardinian? Is that what he is? I'm surprised they have not shown up in like Mandalorian or something like that. Like you don't even see him in the background. Because it feels like really the new characters that they've made, they're like, no, these guys are here. They're here. They've been here the whole time. Look, here you go. We're popping them into everything.
Right.
Is Rio... I know there was a puppeteer operating Rio, but I'm not sure how much of Rio, like, I feel like if Rio was totally a practical effect, then yeah, they would be putting, but I don't know how much of him is actually mocap kind of stuff. So
easier just to, if it's all CG, they based the actions of the CG puppet based on, as we said, Katie Cartwheel, the actress, but, once it's in there, it's probably easier just to throw it in there. If they just need background aliens, just like, grab the, open up the Ardinian file, throw it in there.
How is Rio's
Han Solo
name spelled?
in the Ardinian file.
R-I-O.
How is Rio's? How what?
R-I-O, classic Rio.
R-I-O, like the DreamWorks movies about the bird.
Yeah, or the river.
Yeah. Or like Blame It on Rio. Her name is Rio, and she dances on the sand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
De Janeiro.
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro.
That's it.
Or the
no follow-ups.
Oreo.
No, I just wasn't sure if it was a different, like REEIO or something,
or like REO Speedwagon.
Yeah.
Has Rio Speedwagon? Has anyone ever called them that before?
Yeah,
probably. Anyway. He is a pilot.
Looks like we got a new shirt, fellas.
Yeah, I think one that says his name is Rio and he dances on the sand.
And
then you see Anakin with a thought bubble that says, "I hate sand."
Oh, there you go.
I like it. It's like a political cartoon.
Right.
Oh, very political.
Anakin's like looking in through the window. He's the sickos guy.
Yeah.
And when Ethan Hunt is climbing that building, isn't there a big sandstorm right after that?
I think they're playing Sandstorm by Darude or whatever it is.
Well, I guess that wraps up minute 37. And guess what? By amazing coincidence, we have just released a new Rio shirt to our merch store.
Look at that.
As if by magic, go to StarWarsMinute.com/merch and you'll see the parody of the Duran Duran classic album Rio reimagined with our old late lamented friend. And 10% of all the proceeds will go to the Rio Durant Children Fund.
Yeah. They're going to go establish that cantina that he wanted. It was his dying wish.
for orphans. So make sure you go there, StarWarsMinute.com/merch, and join us tomorrow for another exciting minute of Solo on Star Wars Minute.
Wars